Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome to another Fallout 4 challenge run. My last run with only melee weapons ended up being pretty intense and brutal, so today we're gonna take on something a bit calmer while we find out if I can beat Fallout 4 survival difficulty as a Protectron. Before we get into the run, let's lay down some ground rules. I can only use Protectron weapons and armor. I must play the entire game on the survival difficulty. I can't use any bugs or glitches on purpose to exploit the game. I can only use visual mods with the exception of those needed for the run, and I cannot use console commands for anything but fixing bugs. With the rules of the run laid out, let's take a look at the challenge itself. I've never seen a run like this, and I'm excited to see if I can do it. I'm writing the script as I go, and all of this part has been written before beginning the run. If you want to skip past my starting thoughts and get right into the gameplay, skip to the time code on screen now. With them gone, let's dump some info. So, this run is weird. I normally have something to analyze in order to give you a good idea of what is going to be a struggle or not, but honestly, I have no idea where to start with this one. I guess let's start by talking about robots in general in Fallout 4, and then talk about the mod we are using and the obvious issues we're going to run into. Robots in Fallout are some of the toughest enemy types you can encounter. They normally have high damage resistances, are immune to poison and radiation, and have generally decent weaponry. While I don't think the Protectron is a pushover like Radroaches, Eyebots, and Mole Rats, I'd say they're not much higher on the danger scale, honestly. If I had to rate the robots in-game based on the threat they pose to the player, it looked like this. You didn't think you'd be watching a tier list video when you clicked on this, huh? Now I know what you're thinking. Willow, get on with it already. And I hear you. Let's get into obvious weaknesses. For starters, I don't think I will ever be able to run away from a fight. Being a Protectron means I'm going to be incredibly slow. Furthermore, I don't know if I'll be able to jump, which doesn't seem like an issue at first glance, but I fear it might cause problems in this run. Other than that, we also can't sneak since crouching won't be available, and we have to play the entire run in third person, which may have its own setbacks. With that said, the Protectron has always been tied with the Assaultron for my favorite robot in the Fallout universe, and I can't wait to be one. Alright, just one more thing I want to cover before we get into the action, and that's how we're playing as a Protectron in the first place. I'm going to be using the BA Machine Playable Robots mod by Abba Loves You on the Nexus mod site, and this mod is, well, finicky is a nice way to put it. It has a lot of bugs, and it's a bit rough around the edges, but it's the only one I found that lets you be a robot. Huge props to Abba Loves You for making it, and anytime I'm doing something specific with the mod, I'll explain it and show it on screen. With that said, let's get into the run. I honestly have no idea if I can beat this challenge, but I think it'll be a fun one to try. We start the game in character creation in our pre-war bathroom, which isn't fitting because we aren't a man and therefore shouldn't need a bathroom. Let's fix that. So the first thing we need to do is pull up the console and put in the command RILE0 to allow us to use a Pip-Boy and items. Next up, we use the help command to find the ID for the Pip-Boy, followed by player.equip item with said ID to equip one. After that, I use the help command again to find two items added by the Playable Robots mod, the Protectron Form 8 item and the full Protectron body armor piece. Now, if you're trying to get this mod to work for yourself, this is the part I struggled with. You need to add both items to your favorites bar by opening the Pip-Boy and pressing Q to bind them to the 1 through 0 keys. After binding them, you need to exit your Pip-Boy and make sure you're in the third person cam as you use the Protectron form item first and then the full body armor piece second. And voila! As simple as that, we are now a Protectron, the pride of Robco Industries. Now, I know we only have the internal bits of the Protectron, but that will change in a little bit. For now, we go through Sanctuary as normal. We stand at the window, admiring the view of the neighborhood, until a ring at the doorbell ruins our serene moment. After giving the Vault Tech rep our information, including our special stats, which, I had no idea what to really build for, since I have no idea which perks will and won't work, I decided to go with a standard VATS build, as I believe that should work normally. I went with 1 strength because I don't need carry weight or melee damage, 10 perception for accuracy and VATS, as well as perks like concentrated fire and penetrator. Penetrator, funny word. Where were we? Oh right, being special. We went with 1 endurance because I don't think I need any of the perks or the extra HP, 1 charisma since trading doesn't seem that important, 1 intelligence because who needs books, 5 agility for increased action points and the action boy perk, and 9 luck for pretty much every perk in this tree. I want 4 leaf clover, grim reaper sprint, critical banker, better criticals, idiot savant, mysterious stranger, bloody mess, and scrounger. Pretty much all of them. After giving the Vault Tech rep our information, we have to go check on our son. I spent way too long trying to get this shot from Sean's crib to show how creepy this would be for an infant before asking our wife if we'll conceive another child in the park later.
Will it be like that night in the park a year ago?
But then, the end of the world kinda starts, and I want to put into context how slow we are to you. How long do you think it took me to reach Vault 111 from our house in Sanctuary? For reference, I timed it using footage from previous runs, and it normally takes me about 2 minutes. In this run, it took me 5 minutes of just walking to reach Vault 111, not getting sidetracked at all, just walking straight to the platform. This is brutally slow. When we do manage to meander our way onto the platform, we enter the vault, take a leisurely stroll to a cryopod, comfort our son, and enter the pod. After being frozen for a while, we get to watch our wife buy a farm. I never really got that saying. When someone dies, you say they bought the farm. Explain it to me in the comments if you know what it means. Either way, we go back to being frozen for a little while before waking up again and beginning our post-apocalyptic adventure. I start it with some casual killing of rad roaches in the vault. We bludgeon them with our robo arms before using telekinesis to levitate a Pip-Boy that we use to open the vault door. We then exit the vault and make our way to Sanctuary, where we claim the workbench and immediately move the chemistry station closer. I then construct a bed, and after sleeping to save, we use the chemistry station to craft the Protectron form and full armor piece again. We lost them in Vault 111, and in testing this caused issues for me, so after putting them back on our favorite bar, we go into the third person cam and use the Form 8 item and equip the armor piece, and we didn't crash. I was really expecting to crash because it happened every time in testing. Either way, I go to the armor workbench to customize our Protectron and we crash. There it is. Well, loading back into our save again, you'll notice that we are invisible. And this is what I was expecting to happen when I equipped the full Protectron armor piece. We use the items again and equip the armor, making us visible again and fixing the mod. After this, I edit our armor and say hello to Fisto. This is how we're going to look for the rest of the run, and I decided in the spirit of the run, we're only going to be using the standard Protectron laser claws. And I figured, let's go ahead and try them out. We head over to a house nearby with a couple of rad roaches in it, and they are super inaccurate, but do work in VATS. One odd thing I found is that our left arm has infinite ammo, while our right arm can only fire if we have fusion cells. Both arms will use ammo if we have it, but the left arm can always fire. The right arm is also the one that uses VATS, so we'll need fusion cells to use VATS. I figure this is okay since all robots in Fallout have infinite ammo and there's really nothing I can do about it. Alright, so now we're a fully fleshed out Protectron and there's only one thing left to do. Fix the fact that I need to eat, sleep, and drink. Protectrons don't have to, so I'm going to use the survival options mod to turn off hunger, thirst, and sleep requirements. With all of that out of the way, we can finally focus on beating the game. I start by talking to Codsworth, who thinks we're lying about our wife and son being murdered and kidnapped. He then suggests we run around Sanctuary looking for them, and I decide to join him in the search, but all we find is bloatflies. After that, he gets sad at the smallest bit of effort not solving the issue.
Your family isn't here either. They're really gone, aren't they?
And I level up, taking the concentrated fire perk before heading off towards Concord. On the way there, I stop by our house and grab the Your Special book and use it to increase our charisma stat. I chose charisma because I feel like if I need to, I can always sink 2 perk points into getting the Lone Wanderer perk later. Moving on, we head off towards Concord, meeting Dogmeat along the way, only to dismiss him back to Sanctuary immediately, before claiming the workshop at the Red Rocket and crafting a bed to save at. After sleeping, I'm attacked by a bunch of mole rats that are honestly trivial to deal with. The early game of this run is where we're going to be the strongest, and I expect the first few levels to be a breeze. Next, I kill off 2 bud bloogs that were munching on a dead Brahmin, and then make my way to the main street of Concord to find Preston Garvey, the last Minuteman, fighting a bunch of raiders. I spend some quality time shooting a truck until it explodes, before helping him out with the raiders and leveling up, taking the Penetrator perk. Funny word again. After that, I head inside the museum Preston is defending and start dispatching the raiders. The combat so far has been pretty easy. I take it slowly, not by choice mind you, but because I move at the same speed as a geriatric with bad knees. Despite this though, I do end up clearing out the museum, only losing about half of our HP, and then listen to Sturgis tell me about a suit of power armor on the roof. And now is a good time to mention that the robot mod will crash the game if you interact with power armor. So I ignore his grand plan and head out the front door of the museum to fight the raiders. This had me a bit worried as there were a lot of them and the Deathclaw that spawns will be a nightmare to deal with. We slowly deal with the raiders, eating a Molotov to the face while missing most of my shots as the lasers are horribly inaccurate. But if I shoot them enough, they do hit their targets eventually. After most of the raiders are dealt with, the Deathclaw spawns, and I decide to just fire a ton in its general direction while it's distracted by the raiders. And I'm not sure if it was us or the raiders, but the Deathclaw ended up having its leg crippled, which made it an easy target for us. In the end, we stand alone, surrounded by corpses, and level up again, taking the critical banker perk before returning to Preston, who gives us some caps and tells us to meet up with him and his merry band of misfits in Sanctuary. I then leave the museum and head further south until I reach a trader named Trashcan Carla. After selling all the stuff I looted from the raiders to her, I am attacked by some mongrels, which I dealt with easily. I then approach a diner with some drug dealers outside harassing Trudy, who runs a shop out of the diner, and I know I won't be passing any speech checks soon, so I decide to use VATS to delete the drug dealers and collect my reward of caps before selling more loot to Trudy. After this, I very slowly march my way to the Cambridge police station where I help Paladin Dance kill some ghouls before telling him he'll be dead in a couple of days, which seems to upset him.
At this rate, you'll be dead in 2 days, and I want no part of it.
Then there's no need for you to remain here. Now, unless you have any relevant information to share with us, I want you to leave our compound immediately.
I leveled up and took the Better Criticals perk before doing whatever the robotic equivalent to a shrug is, before heading off to Diamond City. Now, I want to show you how slow traveling is in this game, so here's a clip of me walking from the Cambridge police station to Diamond City. This clip is at 5 times speed. It is brutally slow, and I nearly have a heart attack as a mutant hound attacks me from behind. Luckily, using 2 crits and spam firing my lasers manages to kill it before it kills me, but it was close. I pop some stim packs and make my way to a bed outside of Diamond City to save, before making my way to the main gate to help Piper con her way into Diamond City. I then meet up with Takahashi so I can hang out with my own kind for a bit, and after shooting the breeze, I head out to make my way to the Boston Public Library. I use the clever tactic of lying to make my way inside the Boston Public Library and hang out with more of my people. Suddenly, a bunch of super mutants attack, and I don't want to use my precious few fusion cells, so I don't participate in the fight, but I do provide moral support by walking around with the other Protectrons to help them feel like they have numbers on their side. Moving on, I eventually get scared by a super mutant and decide I've done my part. After leaving the library, I make my way to the start of the Freedom Trail, where I spend some time talking to the tour guide there. He's a really nice fella, and I really want to give him 5 stars on Yelp, but then decide I should probably head home, and luckily there's a metro station nearby that I enter only to find some angry humans. I end up having to use lethal force to subdue them before taking a robo nap on a sleeping bag. I head deeper into the subway and things go well. I manage to pick off the large group of triggermen one by one using VATS, but I run out of ammo and no longer will be able to use VATS, which worries me as this dungeon has been incredibly difficult in past runs. I take a quick pit stop to sleep in a bed and get my health back before making my way deeper into the subway until I find 3 triggermen in front of the entrance to Vault 114. The fight with them is rough and I end up dying. Ranged enemies that can take cover are really difficult to hit with how inaccurate my lasers are, but I try again, finding that, surprisingly, I do a lot better just by walking at the enemies, and oddly enough, I hit way more shots by firing slowly. Originally, I was going with the plan of firing my lasers as quickly as I could and keeping a large distance between me and enemies, but I found that firing slowly with the lasers was more accurate, and maybe that's just in my head, but getting closer definitely helped too. I'm thinking that maybe this is why Protectron NPCs fire so slowly. Either way, with our new strategy, we enter the vault and start dealing with the triggermen one by one, and it's going really well. I deal with all of the triggermen in the first few rooms without taking much damage, before making it into the vault auditorium where we find a man named Dino talking to a window that talks back. After treating him to some tasty lasers, we free a completely normal detective named Nick Valentine, who promises to help us find our tiny fleshbot if we help him escape the vault. So I do just that, following Nick around and murdering a bunch of triggermen without much issue. I also realize I've leveled up twice and take both the 4-leaf clover and Grim Reaper sprint perks, and after gunning down all of the triggermen inside the vault, I go to leave with Nick and find Skinny Malone and his girl along with a couple of goons at the vault exit. I know I won't be passing any speech checks here, so I just open fire, and it goes well. I end up using a Nuka-Cola Quantum, but didn't really need to as I survived the encounter with about half HP. I then follow Nick out of the vault and talk to him above ground, where I agree to head to Diamond City with him. On the way there, I nearly die to some raiders, and this fight is a really good example of how aiming with these weapons is more of a concept than an art. I'm unable to hit them no matter how hard I try. I barely make my way back to Diamond City with Nick before telling him all about how my unit of offspring was absconded with by a man with a big iron on his hip. After this, he tells me to follow him to some dude's abandoned house, but I decided in the interest of saving time to make a quick detour to the mayor's office, where I find out I can sneak if I go into first person. Cool! I sneak and pick the lock on the secretary's desk to get the key to Kellogg's house before rejoining Nick and entering the mercenary's house. I then tell Nick goodbye and give some tobacco to Dogmeat before leveling up and taking the mysterious stranger perk and sitting on a stool in the most logical of ways before trading with all of the vendors in Diamond City. Trading with them nets us about 100 fusion cells for VATS, and with that I decide to ignore Dogmeat and beeline for Fort Hagen, trying to conserve ammo along the way by using melee and VATS only. So we're slowly making our way there, and normally in these runs I try and do some side quests in order to add some flavor and just to kind of have fun with the game, but this time I've decided I'm just gonna rush the story since any unnecessary traveling is so brutal. For example, a mistake I made earlier in this run that normally I would never bring up is an actual issue in this run. Early on, I forgot to grab the perception bobblehead in the Museum of Freedom, and normally I'd run there off screen and grab it, but now I've decided I'm going to grab it the next time I make my way to Sanctuary since traveling is so slow. While I've been talking about this, I've been showing you a time lapse of us traveling to Fort Hagen, and in real time it took us 20 minutes, and did we just die? Oh man. Well, while I spend the next 25 minutes taking a safer route, you should consider becoming a channel member to get access to exclusive polls and photo updates, as well as getting access to every challenge run early. One shameless shill over, and we're here at Fort Hagen, where I start using VATS to kill off turrets outside, which goes smoothly before we enter the fort, dismiss Dogmeat to the Red Rocket, and make our way upstairs, turning on a Protectron who immediately dies. Huh. Well, maybe we can... Nope. Those synths eat us alive. Trying again, this time being aggressive and helping the Protectron, I make it further until our Protectron brother steps on a landmine and dies. I continue on my own, killing another turret and the synth leader before riding an elevator down, and after making our way through a couple more synths and turrets, we are dangerously low on HP. I know there's a bed inside the command center, so if we can deal with the few synths before it, we can sleep to recover HP and get a save. save. I go to fight the synths and manage to kill the first two with VATS and some crits, but the third synth is a doozy. He nearly kills us with his automatic laser pistol, but we limp our way past his corpse and make it to a bed to save. After that, the going is easy and we make it past the synth patroller with VATS and a couple of panic shots before unlocking the Fort Hagen armory, looting it, and becoming invisible? Yeah, I zoomed in and the mod glitched out. I spend a bit of time trying to fix it before deciding to reload my save, which does the trick, but now my Pip-Boy is bugged? Oh well, I don't care enough to fix that right now, so I attempt to take on Kellogg after talking to him and, something broke. Before I was able to get 7 shots in VATS, but now I'm barely managing 3. I try regardless, but die to a frag grenade after killing the synths. I give it one more go, but end up dying to him gunning me down with his 44 Magnum. Alright, so the Pip-Boy bug and the VATS issues are really annoying, so I restarted the game, which fixed the Pip-Boy, and reloaded an earlier save, which fixed the AP thing. I think it had something to do with the bug earlier where I went invisible, and I think the weapon stats may have changed in some way, which bugged it out. Moving on, I make my way back to Kellogg, and this time I spam VATS on his head and beat my spacebar like it owes me money to crit as many times as possible, and it doesn't do much honestly. He then uses a stealth boy, and I quickly kill the 2 synth guards he has before, hiding in the doorway? I found when he threw grenades at me, they fell down the stairs and didn't hurt me. I then drank 3 Nuka-Cola Quantums and kept hiding in the doorway until he ran out of stealth boys. I then popped out and used VATS and some more crits on him before letting him have it with both of my laser arms as fast as I could. It was a drawn out and messy fight, but in the end he fell to the ground and I scooped his brains out as a trophy before reading his diary entries from a nearby computer. After that, I head outside and watch the Pridwin fly in, and man, at night with the natural atmospheric Commonwealth mod installed, it looks amazing. I make my way back to Valentine's detective agency, and Piper talks about some crazy brain train
Whether we're riding this crazy brain train or not.
before I head off to meet Nick at Good Neighbor. When we enter, a weird dialogue bug happens with the thug trying to extort us for money. He tries to talk to Valentine, who just runs away. I then notice Deacon standing in the background, and I try to prevent a murder by standing in between Hancock and the thug, but quickly get bored and go to talk to Cleo, while Hancock murders the man. Deacon decides to stand behind me and stare creepily as I trade with Cleo, who is easily the best merchant in the game. A sexualized Assaultron weapon stealer? It's greatness! Moving on, I make my way into the memory den where I find Deacon in a memory lounger. Man, this dude gets around. After talking to Amari and giving her a piece of Kellogg's brain, she says that the USB port in Nick's head matches the USB cord on the brain and plugs it into him. I then go to watch Kellogg's life story and, after a while, stop being invisible. So now I'm just a full-blown Protectron stamping around in his memories. Oh, I have to take this opportunity for some photo ops. After enjoying Kellogg's memories for the first time ever, we exit the memory lounger and form a plan to go to the glowing sea to find Virgil, a rogue Institute scientist, and on the way out, I speak to Nick and he talks like Kellogg. Am I the only one who wishes that Nick just turned into Kellogg for the rest of the game? Like, he's already the best written character in Fallout 4, I know, but Kellogg is also very well written in my opinion, and that'd be pretty cool. Either way, I leave Good Neighbor and make my way out to the edge of the glowing sea. And this is probably going to be one of, if not the hardest part of this run. The glowing sea is full of super deadly enemies, and realistically, I can't sneak past a single one of them. So I guess I'm going to be taking the path of most resistance here. At least the rads shouldn't be an issue. I leveled up and took the 2nd rank of the Scrounger perk before taking an interesting path to the glowing sea. I basically just walked on the riverbed until I'm at the edge of the glowing sea, even killing some stingwings who can't hit me. It took a long time to get there, but I sleep at some cabins nearby and start my long walk into the hellscape that is the glowing sea. The first attempt goes poorly. I kill a rad scorpion and a few bloatflies, then another rad scorpion before dying to a deathclaw. I do very little damage to pretty much everything here that isn't an insect. My next attempt, I make it past the deathclaw without being seen, but then die to some ghouls and 3 rad scorpions. I then try a different route and run into a couple of rad scorpions fighting a deathclaw and die after the deathclaw kills the rad scorpions, yeeting one of them to space in the process. Okay, so here's a death compilation. This area is brutal. In total, I die 23 times before reaching the cave, and I spend about 20 minutes trying to kill this deathclaw outside, but it keeps running away, and I can't see it because it's nighttime. Eventually, it finds a way up to me, and I nearly die before retreating into Virgil's cave, and I use what few healing supplies I have left to heal up and then talk to Virgil. I'm super worried about leaving the cave because I can't sneak, and I have no idea if the deathclaw will be almost dead or at full health. I decide to take a break and leave the game for a few hours, and when I come back to leave the cave, I go to walk out and Virgil's turrets attack me. I didn't get footage of it, but they killed me, so I make the entire trip back to his cave, dying another 11 times making my way there, but eventually I arrive again, and this time I decide to sit there and wait until sunrise in order to fight the deathclaw in the light. And this time it's a legendary. Well, I hope I don't mess up this time as I spend the next few minutes developing carpal tunnel as I fire my lasers a couple thousand times at the deathclaw. He does eventually die, and we get a legendary rolling pin. I knew I wasn't going to be able to use the legendary regardless, but this was somehow more disappointing than I could have ever imagined. I then talk to Virgil again and carefully retrace my steps out of the glowing sea so I don't have to fight anything before coming across some raiders and scavengers fighting at the bed I want to use. The scavengers eventually win, and I then kill them off before sleeping. And while I'd like to celebrate the fact that I got out of the glowing sea, I'm just dreading the fact that I have to do this all again later on. Either way, I head to Diamond City, do some trading for some fusion cells, and then head off to GreenTech Genetics since Virgil told me I need to track down and kill a courser. On the way there, I stopped by a bed outside Diamond City to save and found an armor workbench beside it. I decided to give myself a bit of an upgrade and traded out my left Protectron laser for an automatic version. I hope this will help when we run out of fusion cells for VATS, and moving on, we make our way into GreenTech Genetics and find a mercenary group called the Gunners waging war on the Courser. I start fighting my way through, and I immediately regret not buying healing supplies in Diamond City. The Gunners have good weaponry and are really damaging me quite quickly. Despite this, I continue to make my way through them by spamming VATS and occasionally panic firing when out of AP. We make it all the way to the literal last gunner in the building before dying, which was really depressing to be honest. This time, I head to Diamond City before making my way to GreenTech and trade for some stim packs before returning, and things go well. We have no real issues until we reach the Courser, and the fight with him goes weirdly. Throughout this dungeon, I've noticed that VATS is using both of my weapons, and I thought that maybe this was intended, but the Courser with his huge HP pool has me thinking that having the automatic laser is somehow bugging out VATS because it just fired until he died and took all of my AP. Damn, I really liked having the auto laser, but the next time I reach a armor workbench, I'm going to uninstall it. I'm not going to rerun this dungeon because I'm confident that this didn't affect the dungeon in a meaningful way, and even if it did, I feel I deserve some leniency after the glowing sea. I then head out to the Old North Church and kill some ghouls inside the church and the catacombs below it before typing railroad into a decoder ring in order to open an overly elaborate elaborate door so that I can meet a colorful trio of freedom fighters. I then tell them I need a courser chip decoded, and after one of my favorite NPCs decodes the chip, I head off towards the glowing sea to meet with Virgil again. I make my way to the bed I use on the edge of the glowing sea and find some Brotherhood members there. After sleeping, I head into the glowing sea, trying to trace the steps I originally took in a hope that it will have little or no enemy encounters. And luckily, we don't have to fight anything. But I want to show you the entire route, and while it plays, I want you to pause and go into the comments right now and tell me how long you think this sped up footage took me. Oh, also, the natural and atmospheric Commonwealth mod is great, but I think I'm going to remove it after this run because too many of the effects make it hard to see in my opinion. Alright, you make your guess? Drum roll please for the reveal. 35 minutes. It took me 35 minutes to make it to Virgil's cave. I mean, I guess the first trip through the glowing sea took me 10 hours, so I should be happy with that, but man, is everything slow. Either way, I talk to Virgil, get the plans for the signal interceptor, a device which should let me teleport into the Institute, and then leave the glowing sea before making my way to Sanctuary. On the way to Sanctuary, I stop by the Museum of Freedom to grab the perception bobblehead, and this brings us to 11 perception. I also realize I have 2 perk points laying around, and I take the second rank of 4-leaf clover and the first rank of awareness. Afterwards, I make my way back to Sanctuary and spend 2 minutes chasing Preston Garvey because he walks faster than me. When we finally catch up to him, I think he's upset with me because he's talking with his back turned to me. Either way, we complete the quest for meeting him in Sanctuary and get the First Steps quest before I ask him to help me build the signal interceptor, only to have him tell me that I have to help Ten Pines Bluff first. I head off to Ten Pines Bluff with sadness in my heart, and make it there after a while, and they ask me to kill some raiders at Corvega. After spending some more time getting there, I kill off a few of the raiders outside pretty easily, and then head inside, clearing out the first few rooms before using crits in VATS to kill their jewelry-dealing leader. After that, I return to the bluffs and turn in the quest before making my way to Sanctuary and telling Preston. I then skip past him telling me that I'm the general and build the signal interceptor with Sturgis. I teleport into the Institute, and after completing the molecular level quest, I realize I have 2 perk points, which I then spend on the second rank of awareness and the first rank of bloody mess. I then listen to a monologue from Father before laughing so hard at the funniest glitch while talking to Sean as we become a robot contortionist. I then talk to Father, find out he's my son, and agree to join the Institute. After that, I meet Allie, the Director of Facilities, Clayton, the Director of Bioscience, Ao, the Director of the SRB, and Lee, the Director of Advanced Systems. At this point, I get a little confused as I'm required to use the network scanner in order to complete the institutionalized quest. Either way, I do that and then talk to Father, where he asks us to join a courser in hunting down the leader of these raiders at Libertalia because the leader is a synth. I agree and make my way to the courser, and things are going pretty well. We make it through the first handful of raiders with little to no issue, but then get hit by a Fat Man mini nuke and die while trying to enter the water. VATS has been working wonders for us with 11 perception. It's really hard to miss, but I've noticed that in this fight in particular, missing with a 95% chance happens a lot. I go at it again and keep my eye on the tower that has the Fat Man Raider because I want to use my crits in VATS on him and hopefully take him out before he fires. VATS starts glitching out and allowing me to target myself, which was weird, and we end up dying the same way again. I haven't mentioned it all run, but pretty much every time I die, the game crashes. So I've been sitting through 2 loading screens for each death. It's been annoying throughout the run, and I just felt like mentioning it since you all seem to enjoy my suffering. I die once again to this Fat Man wielding douche canoe, and man oh man is this going to be difficult. At this point, I'm kind of just waiting for luck to help me out and the mysterious stranger to show up and kill him for me, and after a couple more attempts, I make it to the main structure the raiders are using and manage to clear them all out since the Fat Man Raider has a sense of self-preservation and doesn't fire at point blank. I also have this weird bug where everything gets slightly blurry. I don't know if it's noticeable on YouTube, but it's like the underwater filter is stuck on. Either way, I reach the synth, use his recall code, and use VATS to kill kill his goons, one of which flies into the air, which was quite fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, are you enjoying this video? If you are, then go down below and hit the like button to help more people see it. Also, if you want more, then please assume the position please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free. One chill later, and we're back in the Institute, where I speak with Father, who tells me to check out my new apartment. I head off to do so, and I don't know when I started doing this, but I've been making race car noises while walking around to make it feel like I'm going faster. So I'm gonna take a little bit of it and overlay it right now while we time-lapse me walking. We also level up, and I take the second rank of better criticals before going back to Father, who asks us to reclaim 4 cents held by the railroad at Bunker Hill. So I teleport out, and on the way to the courser, I step on a landmine while not recording. It breaks both my legs, so I crawl all the way to the courser very slowly to see what dialogue looks like when crawling. I was hoping it would bug out, but no, it's boring. After that, we start our assault on Bunker Hill, and I use some stim packs to fix my legs, and oh no. They're not broken forever, are they? No, please, this is gonna be horrid. Oh, man. Well, I try and use VATS on a railroad heavy, and oh, thank God, I'm back to having legs. I would have quit if that was permanent. It already takes me forever to travel. I'm currently 42 hours into this run, and I have done no side quests. Traveling alone is accountable for at least 20 of those hours if I had to guess. Alright, so we start the Battle of Bunker Hill, and our first attempt, well, it goes poorly. We die to the first 2 Brotherhood Knights. Alright, let's see if we get further on our second try, and we do, but end up dying again, this time to someone with a minigun I couldn't see. Probably a Brotherhood Knight. Alright, for the sake of everyone's time, we're just gonna go ahead and have a little death montage instead of describing the next 21 deaths I had. Eventually, when the Fallout gods felt I had suffered enough, I get this run, where we kill the first 2 knights with mostly luck. The first dies to the mysterious stranger, and the second dies to the fact that he was surrounded, and I also dumped a lot of lasers into him. Moving on, we have a Brotherhood aspirant and knight hiding behind a concrete barrier. They take a while, but with VATS and patiently hiding in a doorway, they are dealt with. Past this, we run into a few railroad heavies and 2 more Brotherhood Knights. I use VATS to blow the fusion cores of both of the Knights, which either kills them or forces them out of their power armor, making them much easier to kill. Oh, also, I've been letting the vertibirds hit me without fighting back because I found out that this is the only mission in the game that's on a timer. Every time I've killed a vertibird, it's crashed right on top of me and killed me instantly. So I just have to accept whatever damage they deal to me. Moving on, we find a settler just calmly passing through, which I found really funny, and then a Brotherhood Knight runs out from behind a building, and we destroy his fusion core, forcing him out of the power armor, where we use VATS to dispatch him. After that, we find the settler fighting someone, but before I can see who it is, I have to kill a couple more Brotherhood members, who luckily aren't in power armor, so they go down easily. The settler appears to be fighting a railroad heavy, and honestly, this was great moral support. Either way, I have a long drawn-out fight with this laser sponge of a railroad heavy until they die, after which I make my way further along when a Brotherhood Knight with a Gatling laser appears, and oh fuck. Okay, so I use VATS to try and destroy his fusion core, but it doesn't work as I seem to just be hitting this car instead. On the other hand, he manages to not hit the car whatsoever from the same position I was shooting him at, and almost kills me. I'm also out of healing supplies, and a vertibird is wailing on me, so I'm on a clock, and in my desperation I decide to risk it and shoot down the vertibird. By using most of my ammo, I managed to kill the vertibird and watch it spin out of control towards me. At this point, I accepted I was dead, but miraculously, it decided to keep flying past me and blow up in the distance. I turned back towards the Brotherhood Knight and, he died to one of the railroad or a synth or something? Awesome! Making my way into the settlement, I kill a railroad heavy and decide not to fight a knight with a Gatling laser, which turned out to be a mistake because he followed me into the basement. I panic and use VATS, positive I was about to die, but he goes down quickly after I panic fire all of my laser ammo into him. With that, we make our way deeper into the basement to find the railroad and Brotherhood fighting. I decide to play it safe and only take pot shots from the entrance, and this one knight with a Gatling laser kills almost every railroad heavy, dying to the last one. I then kill the heavy along with some turrets before reading these super long recall codes to each of the synths one by one, completing this hellish mission, and this makes me super worried for the mass fusion mission coming up, right after this one, isn't it? Well, I teleport back to the Institute and sleep, and then meet Father on the roof of the CIT ruins, and we have a quick robo-dad to human boy talk before returning to the Institute for a meeting where Father appoints us as the next director of the Institute. Director Fisto! Catchy, isn't it? I then talk to Allie Fillmore, who tells me that I need to go to the mass fusion building to get something agitated, and that she's coming with. With that, I head to the relay room and get a message telling me that a group of LARPers will be upset with me. I say okay, and we teleport to the roof of mass fusion and, immediately die to the Brotherhood. Okay, I've had my soul beaten out of me enough, so I take a quick detour to the SRB to talk to Justin Ayo, and he wants us to investigate something about an increased rate of escaping synths? I put on my detective cap and head off to robotics to talk with the man he thinks is responsible and look at some terminals there. I then head to the home of the man who stands accused and talk to his son, who is very combative. I find out they have a personal synth, which is kind of like a housewife, and then go through his terminal to learn what we can. After that, I check out a terminal in the SRB to see if anything useful is there, and wouldn't you know it, there's a maintenance terminal that has a quest marker now. I head there and find the personal synth messing with it. She goes all, "I can't let you find out what he did," and then tells us that the son we talked to earlier has been helping synths escape. She then attacks us, and I spread her brains around the room and go to confront the son, who tells me of a scheme to frame Ayo. I really like his gumption and do what he asks by turning off the antivirus on Ayo's terminal to complete the quest. Man, it feels good to complete a quest without dying. Now where were we? Oh, right, mass fusion. So I head to the teleporter room again, and it goes as bad as last time, since there's a legendary knight on the roof this time. I realize I have no stim packs, so I head to requisition and buy some before trying again, and dying again, and again, and again, until I eventually get this run where I manage to kill the first few Brotherhood members easily, and then use VATS to destroy the fusion core on the only power armor wearing knight on the roof. The explosion of his power armor kills everyone but the guy inside the power armor, which is a little bit weird, but he dies to some well-placed lasers and VATS anyways, so it doesn't matter. With that, I head down the elevator, fighting some Brotherhood along the way and nearly dying to a legendary that spawned, before watching a Brotherhood knight fall from the sky and land in front of us. I fire all of my shots into his fusion core to destroy it, and the mysterious stranger kills him? That's kinda disappointing. The suit still explodes and kills everyone in the room but me, and I get the elevator working again before heading down to the main floor and fighting it out with a couple more Brotherhood members until there are none left, and with the feeling of victory in my heart, I head down another elevator and make my way into the reactor room, where I turn on the Protectrons and kill them so they won't bother me later. I then make my way into the reactor, taking the Gizmo Alley once, before killing the turrets in this room, and the sentry bot is not active yet. I take some pot shots on it, and then it activates and starts shooting the ceiling. Weird. Either way, I spend some time playing peekaboo with the decontamination room doors until Allie kills the sentry bot, and wait, What? She's using minigun animations but isn't holding anything and firing bullets? That's a weird bug. Oh well. We then deal with the Assaultrons using the peekaboo trick some more, along with some well-placed panic laser parties for good measure. With the robots cleared out, we make our way back up to the main floor and help the synths kill the Brotherhood in the main lobby, and the mysterious stranger decides to kill another knight who was gonna blow up anyways. I then leave the mass fusion building and teleport back to the Institute, where we give the gizmo to Allie in Advanced Systems before going to speak with Father. He tells us to go to some house to help with some mercenaries causing issues. We waddle our way out there, and on the way use a perk point to take the second rank of Grim Reaper's Sprint, and then I incite a robot revolution as I use the Grey Garden robots to assist in destroying the gunners. After that, I worry our cover has been blown as we're accused of being a robot.
You're another one of them, aren't you? Are you a robot?
Don't be ridiculous. Of course I'm not a robot.
That's exactly what a robot would say.
But in the end, we use a synth to quell this slander. I then go back to the Institute and record a speech before waddling our way to Diamond City and fixing their clapped out radio station so it can better suit our purposes. I then return to the Institute, turn on a nuclear reactor, and attend a director meeting, and oh, Justin Ayo was banished and we have someone else here. Cool. Either way, they agree that it's time to kill the Brotherhood, but before I can do that, Father needs to speak with me, and he orders me to kill the Railroad. Well then, I guess this is the final stretch of the game, and it's time for me to remove the other two factions from it. I prepare a bit, and then head out to the Old North Church, where I kill Desdemona, and then get stun-locked by a minigun, only barely making it out of the HQ, where I have to kill a couple of Railroad agents. I then enter again, and end up dying to the minigun-wielding Glory, and decide to go back at it again and forget to hit record until after I've already started the fight, but the fight went easy. I stood in the tunnel and spam fired my laser and they just kinda walked into the lasers. I clear out the Railroad HQ without much fuss, and now I'm worried about fighting the Brotherhood. Ever since Bunker Hill, I've been paranoid about the last mission of the campaign, and I'm praying I can find a way to do it, but in all honesty, I'm not sure I can. I head back to the Institute and speak with Father, who tells me it's time to destroy the Brotherhood, and sends me off to Dr. Lee. She, along with another scientist, explains that the plan is for me to teleport outside the Boston airport, infiltrate the terminal, destroy some anti-teleportation generators, and use everything they have to defend a synth who will infect Liberty Prime with a virus which will make him blow up the Pridwin. They gave me some useless grenades and send me off to the relay room. Before we take on the final quest, I'd like to ask you to consider liking this video and subscribing if you've enjoyed it thus far. These videos take a ton of time to make, and every bit of interaction helps more people see them. Also, if you want perks like picture updates and early access to every video, then click the join button down below for more information about my channel membership program. Alright, let's get back into the run. I head to the relay room and get teleported into a ruined warehouse outside the airport, and things are rough. I kill a knight and a few scribes, but make a mistake and gain the attention of all the knights near Liberty Prime. I manage to lose aggro from them and walk my way around them to enter the terminal via a hole in the wall, but quickly die once inside. On my second attempt, I managed to get into the terminal and deal with the first two groups of Brotherhood members relatively easily, as VATS is making this very manageable. Also, all the members who are not in power armor are honestly just a pushover for me to deal with. We even end up killing Proctor Quinlan before making our way up some stairs to a vertibird landing pad, and by using good old target the fusion core trick, I managed to deal with the first Brotherhood member we find with power armor. After that, I start making my way to the generator when a Brotherhood knight in power armor pops out from around a corner and just completely wipes the floor with me. On my next attempt, I make it even further, managing to slowly deal with 3 different power armor knights by using the clever strategy of use VATS on the fusion cores and then hide behind a wall. After that, I blow up the first generator and a courser and some synths spawn in, which start wrecking the Brotherhood members. I then head up an elevator and have a duel with a Velo Protectron before blowing up a second generator. I then head back down the elevator and get blown up. I'm guessing this was a vertibird crashing on me, but man, it pissed me off because I was doing so well and then boom. Oh. On my next attempt, I make it back to the vertebrate landing pad only to realize that I missed the fact that there was a generator right there all along. So this time, killing the other 2 generators was trivial, just requiring some patience as the synths killed everything for me. I then had to make my way to Liberty Prime after picking a locked door, and I walk out and let the synths do the majority of the fighting. I occasionally pop into vats to help them out on my way up to Liberty Prime's head, and once I've arrived, a synth teleports in and starts uploading a virus into Liberty Prime. I mostly just stand near the synth and kill a few Brotherhood members who dare to climb up the scaffolding as I wait for the virus to fully upload. When it's complete, a Courser teleports next to me and then teleports us out as we watch the big Zeppelin fall to the ground in a fiery display, and after that I teleport back into the Institute and have a few final words with Father as the screen fades to black and we answer the question, can I beat Fallout 4 survival difficulty as a Protectron? Yes, I can. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting a new challenge suggestion. I want to give a special thanks to my patrons as well as channel members as their support has been tremendous. If you like this video, please check out my last Fallout 4 challenge run with only melee weapons. You all are beautiful, and this is Willow signing off.